A beacon of freedom and prosperity, drawing millions of people to its shores in search of a better life. Beneath the glitz and glamour of its cities and the allure of the American dream lies a dark side that is often overlooked. From its bad conditions of living, amount of homeless people and lack of help from the government to rising criminal ratio, the United States has a complex and troubling underbelly that many are unaware of. For many people around the world, the United States is a symbol of progress and hope. But what about the less talked about aspects of this country? In this video, we'll be taking a closer look at the dark side of the United States. With its thriving cities, breathtaking scenery and diverse culture, the United States is frequently seen as a nation of opportunity. Even though the United States is frequently regarded as a symbol of hope and success, there is a darker side to the nation that both many Americans and foreigners fail to recognize. Being one of the richest countries in the world, a sizable portion of the population continues to struggle with poverty and economic insecurity. The cost of living is high, many individuals struggle to make ends meet, and the government doesn't do a good enough job of helping those who are in need. This is the dark side of America. The rising cost of living is one of the biggest issues that many Americans currently face. Eggs and fuel oil both experienced significant price increases of 66% and 49% respectively. Other notable price increases include a 36% increase in airfares, a 10.3% increase in living room, kitchen and dining room furniture, and a 4.5% increase in the cost of alcohol consumed at home. Since last year, the Consumer Price Index has risen by a total of 7.1%, making it more challenging to buy necessities like food and electricity. After rising by 0.4% in February, the CPI for all urban consumers, CPIU, increased by 0.1% on a seasonally adjusted basis in March, according to data from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics. Many people are struggling to make ends meet because the cost of basics including housing, healthcare, education and other necessities has increased dramatically in recent years. Another significant issue for many Americans is the cost of healthcare. The United States has one of the most expensive healthcare systems in the world, despite possessing some of the most cutting-edge medical equipment. This is a result of the nation's intricate healthcare system, which mainly depends on private insurance firms. Additionally, the cost of education is rising, with the price of college tuition rising alarmingly quickly. Several students graduate from college with large debt loads that can take several years to repay. This may significantly affect their financial situation and constrict their prospects for growth. Homelessness in the United States has significantly increased as a result of the rising cost of living. Urban locations with high housing costs and a dearth of affordable housing, like LA, San Francisco and New York City, are disproportionately affected by homelessness. Many homeless people are compelled to live in unsafe and overcrowded shelters, on the streets or in their cars. Many Americans believe that the government is not doing enough to assist those in need, despite the fact that homelessness is an issue that's getting worse. There is a perception that the demands of common folk are not as important to the government as servicing the interests of the wealthy and powerful. The fact that numerous government initiatives aimed at assisting the poor have been eliminated or drastically reduced in recent years has contributed to this perception. For instance, the current administration has set its sights on reducing funding for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, which offers food assistance to low-income families. Millions of dollars have been cut from the program's budget, leaving many families struggling to put food on the table. Similar to this, funding for initiatives to provide affordable housing have been cut, leaving many homeless people without a place to live. Due to their perception that the government is not providing for their necessities, many Americans have grown increasingly frustrated and angry as a result. The rising crime rates in many urban areas are another negative aspect of the United States. This is especially clear in places where violent crime has increased recently, such as Chicago, Detroit, and Philadelphia. This trend is influenced by a variety of causes, such as poverty, drug addiction, and a lack of opportunities. Many young people in these communities believe that there is no hope for the future, which can cause them to feel hopeless and desperate. The resultant criminal activity and violence may result from this. The effects of efforts to solve these problems have been uneven. Community policing initiatives, which aim to foster trust and collaboration between police officers and the communities they serve, have been put into place in several places. To lessen the circumstances that contribute to criminal activity, some communities have concentrated on enhancing young people's access to education and employment prospects. However, a lack of funding and resources has frequently impeded these efforts. implementing successful community policing initiatives is challenging due to the understaffing and financial constraints faced by many police departments. Many schools in low-income regions lack the funding and assistance required to offer high-quality instruction and programs for job training. There are around 135 million homes in the United States, and a startlingly huge number of them pose risks to the people who live there. 30 million of them have significant health and safety risks, like gas leaks, broken plumbing, and inadequate heating. Of those, about 6 million have structural issues. 6 million more houses have lead paint. The majority of these residences are situated in concentrated disadvantage areas, which are characterized by high levels of crime, unemployment, racial segregation, and single-parent households, according to the research. The families who live there are shaped by the living conditions. This demonstrates how people who live in concentrated areas of deprivation are more likely to experience health issues like diabetes, asthma, heart disease, and depression. Consider the case of asthma. Mold, dust mites, or rodents in the home are responsible for about 40% of asthma attacks. In addition to having a higher likelihood of living in underprivileged areas, black children are more likely than white kids to have asthma. The report's conclusion reads, one's health and life expectancy are more influenced by zip code than genetic code. According to Sarah Edelman, the Director of Housing Policy for CAP, there is a dearth of high-quality, affordable housing, and we need more federal investment. Due to a lack of financing, just 1 in every 4 people who are qualified for government rental assistance actually receive it. The rising proportion of Americans who rent rather than buy homes is one of the trends causing unsafe housing conditions in the country. Families are now willing to put up with subpar housing conditions because of the rivalry for rental houses. Renters now make up about half of the population, which is significantly greater than it was 10 years ago. People could be much pickier about where they lived if it were a renter's market, or perhaps more crucially, if inexpensive, high-quality real estate wasn't so out of reach for many Americans to acquire. Millions of Americans are no longer able to afford homeownership due to the more than 30% increase in property prices over the last couple of years. Rents are also rapidly increasing. Rents grew by 18.47%, a $302 price increase monthly. The main offender is the historically severe housing shortage. Higher prices result from a tight supply and demand. The most recent housing crash, which occurred in 2008, is partly to blame. Following that, a lot of home builders went out of business, and according to economists, we didn't build enough homes for 10 years. For example, the region of LA, the most underdeveloped metro in the US, is missing 8.4% of its homes, or over 400,000, according to Kinsella. In other words, there should be that many more units to meet the demand given the population of Los Angeles. Not just in LA. There's a housing scarcity in countless small and large places, from Boston to Boise. However, according to Kinsella, this is a fixable issue. This report's key message is that it doesn't have to be this way. He claims that governments and localities urgently need to reform their zoning laws. This is possibly the largest problem. Ernest Brown is the local chapter leader of the YMBY Action Housing Advocacy Group in Atlanta. According to Brown, many cities, including Atlanta, have out-of-date zoning laws that only permit single-family homes on large lots or large apartment buildings in the downtown area. According to him, this causes a missing middle of closer-spaced, more reasonably priced townhouses or starter homes. Many on the left were divided by Chicago's recent mayoral primary, which saw tough-on-crime contender Paul Vallas defeat incumbent Lori Lightfoot and win a spot in an unusual runoff. This led some to claim that the election was a new referendum on the politics of crime. Indeed, Denver, Philadelphia, and Akron, Ohio are just a few American cities where public safety concerns are taking center stage in local elections. Chicago is by no means the only one. Major American cities continue to experience significantly higher levels of violence than they did before the pandemic. Crime, particularly gun violence, has increased dramatically across the nation since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. According to experts, the pandemic's stress, as well as the instability that followed George Floyd's death, are to blame for the spike. Some people also hold the police's retreat after the protests responsible. Although there may be a national trend towards fewer homicides, many cities continue to struggle with rising murder rates. Homicides dramatically increased by 39% in Milwaukee. Raleigh followed closely with a 38% growth. Homicides rose 16% in Atlanta, while they rose 25% in Pittsburgh. The increase in homicides that have occurred since the start of COVID-19 is primarily due to gun violence. The majority of experts concur that for these murders to recover to pre-pandemic levels, a mix of activities from law enforcement, legislators, and community-based organizations will be required. The dark side of the United States is a complex and multifaceted issue that cannot be easily solved. It's the result of many factors, including a high cost of living, a lack of government aid, and rising crime rates in many urban areas. What can we do to address the dark side of the United States? How can we support organizations and individuals who are working to provide aid and support for those in need? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel for more updates, and thanks for watching.